Admiral Jake Morrison stood at the window of the space station, looking out at the stars. His reflection stared back at him, tired eyes and gray hair showing his 50 years of service. Behind him, the council chamber buzzed with angry voices from 100 different alien species. "They are too dangerous," said the Zeltai ambassador, his blue scales shimmering under the lights. "Humans have been among us for only 50 years, yet they cause nothing but trouble." Jake clenched his fists, but said nothing. Ambassador Ryan Cole, Earth's representative, stood at the center of the room trying to defend humanity. Ryan was younger, still hopeful that words could fix this mess. "We have followed every rule," Ryan said, his voice steady. "When pirates attacked our cargo ships, we defended ourselves." "Is that a crime?" "You didn't just defend," another alien hissed. "You hunted them down. You destroyed their bases. You showed no mercy." "They were killers," Ryan shot back. "They murdered innocent people." "That is exactly the problem," the Zeltai said, raising his voice. "You are too aggressive, too violent, too unpredictable. Your species advances too quickly. You make weapons when you should make art. You prepare for war when you should seek peace." Dr. Lisa Grant, sitting beside Jake, whispered to him. "They're afraid of us, not because we're violent, but because we're changing faster than they ever did." She was right. Lisa had studied these alien species for years. Most of them had reached the stars thousands of years ago, then stopped growing. They were comfortable, safe, and scared of anything new. Humanity had gone from primitive rockets to faster-than-light travel in just 200 years. That terrified the older races. "I call for a vote," the Zeltai announced. "Humanity must be exiled from galactic space. They must return to their home system and stay there. We will create a barrier to keep them contained." Ryan's face went pale. "You can't be serious. We're part of this community. We've contributed technology, art, culture." "We vote now," the Zeltai interrupted. Jake watched the board light up with votes. Green for keeping humanity. Red for exile. The reds appeared faster than falling rain. Green dots were few and scattered. Species that Earth had helped, that had traded with human colonies, all voted red. Fear was stronger than friendship. The final count appeared. 847 for exile. Only one against. The single green vote came from a small species humanity had saved from a plague 5 years ago. "It is decided," the Zeltai said, satisfaction clear in his voice. "Humanity has 30 days to withdraw all ships, stations, and colonies from galactic space. Return to your Sol system. The barrier will be erected on day 31. Ryan stood frozen. Jake could see his friend's dreams crumbling. Ryan had believed in the Galactic Council, believed that different species could work together. Now that faith was shattered. Jake stepped forward, his military uniform drawing attention. "Before we go, let me say something." "You have no voice here, military officer," the Zeltai said. "I'm taking one anyway," Jake replied. He looked around the chamber, making eye contact with as many aliens as he could. "You're making a mistake. You think we're dangerous now? Wait until you see what we become when you leave us alone. Humans don't just survive. We adapt. We improve. We overcome. You're not protecting yourselves by doing this. You're creating something you'll regret." "Is that a threat?" someone called out. "No," Jake said. "It's a promise. When you need us, and you will need us, remember this moment. Remember that you chose fear over friendship." He turned and walked toward the exit. Ryan and Lisa followed him. Behind them, the aliens began celebrating, relieved to be rid of the troublesome humans. The journey back to Earth took 3 weeks. Jake spent most of it staring at reports and making plans. Lisa worked on analyzing the barrier technology they would soon face. Ryan barely spoke, lost in his thoughts. When they arrived at Earth, the news had already spread. Protests filled the streets. Some people were angry, wanting to fight back. Others were scared, worried about being cut off from the galaxy. Political leaders argued about what to do next. Jake met with Earth's military command and the president. "We have 1 week before they activate the barrier," he said. "We need to bring everyone home and prepare for isolation." "For how long?" the president asked. "Until we're strong enough that they can't ignore us anymore," Jake answered. The evacuation happened fast. Human ships raced across space, gathering colonists from distant worlds, picking up scientists from research stations, pulling back trade vessels. Everything humanity had built beyond the Sol system was abandoned. On the final day, Jake watched from a military ship as the barrier activated. It looked like a wall of shimmering light, stretching across space in all directions around the sun. Earth, Mars, the asteroid colonies, all of humanity was now trapped inside a cage. "What now?" Lisa asked. Jake smiled, though it didn't reach his eyes. "Now we get to work. They wanted us isolated? Fine. We'll use this time to become something they never expected. When this barrier comes down, and it will come down, they'll see what humans can really do." Ryan finally spoke, his voice quiet but firm. "They'll regret this." "Yes," Jake agreed, watching the barrier shimmer. "They will." Inside the Sol system, humanity began its transformation. They didn't know it yet, but their exile would become their greatest gift. The galaxy had just made a terrible mistake. 50 years had passed since the barrier went up. Commander Ben Hayes floated in zero gravity outside the Mars shipyard, watching workers attach the final armor plates to humanity's newest warship. The vessel was massive, 3 times larger than anything humans had built before the exile. "Beautiful, isn't she?" said a voice through his helmet radio. Ben turned to see Dr. Kate Sullivan drifting toward him. She was younger than Ben, maybe 35, but her reputation was legendary. She had revolutionized human technology with her neural interface system. "She's deadly," Ben replied. "That's what matters." "Both can be true," Kate said with a smile. They floated together in silence, watching the shipyard. Dozens of vessels were under construction, each one incorporating technology that would have seemed like magic before the exile. Humanity had been forced to innovate without alien help, and the results were remarkable. "Remember when we relied on their jump gates?" Ben asked. "Had to pay fees, follow their routes, ask permission to travel?" "Now we have phase shift drives," Kate said. "We can go anywhere, instantly, without their gates, without their permission." It hadn't been easy. The first 20 years after the exile were hard. Resources were limited to the Sol system, some colonies nearly starved, people died. But humanity adapted, as humans always did. They mined the asteroid belt more efficiently. They terraformed Mars faster. They built cities on the moons of Jupiter and Saturn. More importantly, they innovated. Without access to alien technology, humans had to create their own solutions. And human solutions were different. Aggressive, unconventional. Effective. Ben's radio crackled. "Commander Hayes, Director Morgan wants to see you at the moon base." "On my way," Ben replied. He and Kate took a shuttle to Luna, landing at the underground facility that housed humanity's military headquarters. Director Ashley Morgan was waiting in the briefing room, surrounded by holographic displays showing the Sol system's defenses. "We picked up something interesting," Ashley said without greeting. She was all business, always. "Sensors detected energy fluctuations near the barrier. Something's happening out there." "Can you tell what?" Kate asked. "No. The barrier blocks most signals, but there's activity. A lot of it." Ben studied the displays. "Could be anything. Maybe they're reinforcing the barrier. Or maybe they're having problems," Ashley suggested. "Not our concern," Ben said firmly. "Our job is to protect humanity. Whatever happens out there is their business." But Kate looked thoughtful. If something big is happening, it might affect us eventually. The barrier won't last forever. She was right about that. Human scientists had been studying the barrier for 50 years. They had learned how it worked, how it was powered. They had even created their own version of the technology. One day, humanity would bring the barrier down. But not yet. Not until they were ready. "How's the neural interface program going?" Ashley asked Kate. "Excellent. We now have 5,000 pilots fully integrated with the system. They can control ships with their thoughts, react faster than any computer. Combat simulations show they're 3 times more effective than conventional pilots." Ben had tried the neural interface once. It was strange, feeling the ship as an extension of your body. But the younger generation loved it. They had grown up in the Sol system, never knowing the galaxy beyond. They were hungry to explore, to prove themselves. "And the civilian integration?" Ashley asked. "Rolling out slowly," Kate said. "Medical personnel can access patient data instantly. Engineers can control multiple robots at once. Teachers can share knowledge directly with students. It's changing everything." Ben walked to the window overlooking the lunar surface. In the distance, he could see massive defense platforms, each one armed with weapons that could destroy entire fleets. Beyond them, construction crews worked on more fortifications. "You know what the old admiral told me before he died?" Ben said quietly. Jake Morrison had passed away 5 years ago, but his legacy lived on. He said the barrier was a gift. It gave us time to become strong without interference. "He was right," Ashley said. "We're not the species they exiled anymore." A younger officer entered the room, carrying a data pad. "Director, you need to see this. We intercepted a transmission that leaked through the barrier." Ashley took the pad, her eyes scanning the information. Her expression changed from curious to shocked. "What is it?" Ben asked. "It's a distress call," Ashley said slowly. "Multiple distress calls, actually. From different sectors. The translation is rough, but the message is clear. Something is attacking them. Something they can't fight." Kate moved closer. "What kind of something?" "Unknown. But entire systems are going dark. The Galactic Council is losing the war." Ben felt a cold satisfaction. "Like the Admiral said, they need us now." "Should we respond?" the young officer asked. "No," Ashley said firmly. "We don't even know if they've tried to contact us yet. And even if they do, why should we help? They locked us away like criminals." But Kate was already thinking ahead. If something is destroying the galaxy, it might come here eventually. The barrier won't stop everything. Ben considered this. "We need more information. Can we send a stealth probe through the barrier?" "Maybe," Kate said. "If I modify one with phase shift technology, it might slip through undetected." "Do it," Ashley ordered. "But be careful. If they detect us, they might think we're attacking." Over the next week, Kate worked on the probe. Ben coordinated with the defense fleet, making sure they were ready for anything. The Sol system had become a fortress. Every planet, every moon, every station was armed and protected. If something came through that barrier, humanity would be ready. When the probe was ready, they launched it from a hidden facility on Neptune's moon. It approached the barrier, phased through, and disappeared. For 3 days, they waited. Then the data started coming back. Ben, Kate, and Ashley gathered in the command center to review it. What they saw made them realize everything had changed. The galaxy was burning. Fleets were destroyed. Colonies were abandoned. Refugees fled in massive ships, running from something terrible. "This is bad," Kate whispered. "This is opportunity," Ashley corrected. "They need help, and we're the only ones who can provide it." "But should we?" Ben asked. "After what they did to us?" Ashley smiled, but it wasn't a kind smile. "Oh, we'll help them. But not for free, not as beggars asking to be let back in. We'll help them as equals, as the power we've become." "They won't like our terms," Kate said. Then they can face whatever is destroying them alone, Ashley replied. The choice will be theirs. Ben looked at the images of destruction on the screen. Part of him felt satisfaction seeing the council suffer. But another part, the part that remembered being human and not just a soldier, felt something else. When they come asking, he said quietly, and they will come asking, we need to be ready, not just with weapons and ships, but with a plan. We're going to reshape the galaxy. Yes, Ashley agreed. We are. Outside, beyond the barrier, the galaxy continued to burn. And inside the Sol system, humanity prepared to return, but not as the species that was exiled. As something far more dangerous. Something the galaxy had created by trying to cage it. They had wanted humanity isolated. Now they would learn what isolation had created. Captain Megan Ross sat in her command chair aboard the stealth ship Wanderer, watching the barrier shimmer on her screens. She had been out here for 3 months, monitoring the edge of human space. It was boring work, but someone had to do it. Captain, I'm picking up something, her sensor officer called out. His name was Chris Martinez, and he was good at his job. A ship approaching the barrier, small vessel, moving slow. Battle stations, Megan ordered, though she doubted one small ship was a threat. The Wanderer could handle entire fleets if needed. Still, better safe than sorry. The alien ship came closer. It was old, Megan realized. The design was outdated by at least 50 years. It limped through space like a wounded animal. They're broadcasting on all frequencies, Chris said. It's a distress call. Let me hear it, Megan said. The speakers crackled. Then a voice came through. It was speaking the old galactic language, the one humans hadn't heard in a century. But the translation software still worked. This is diplomatic vessel seeking humanity. Please respond. We need help. The galaxy is dying. Please. We were wrong. Please respond. Megan felt a chill run down her spine. In all her years of monitoring, no one had ever approached the barrier. No one had tried to contact humanity. Now, suddenly, they were begging. Should I respond, Captain? Chris asked. No. Record everything and send it to command. They'll decide what to do. She watched the alien ship drift near the barrier, broadcasting its message over and over. The voice sounded desperate, broken. Good, a small part of her thought. Let them feel helpless. Let them know what it's like. But another part of her, the part that remembered her grandmother's stories about the exile, felt something different. Curiosity, maybe. Or concern. 3 hours later, she received orders from Earth. Maintain position. Observe, but do not engage. Fleet Command is reviewing the situation. Meanwhile, back on Earth, President Lauren Mitchell sat in an emergency meeting with the military leadership and scientific advisors. On the main screen was the recording from Captain Ross. They sound desperate, said Admiral Hayes. Ben was older now, gray-haired like Jake Morrison had been. Whatever is attacking them must be bad. Do we know what it is? Lauren asked. Dr. Kate Sullivan, now the chief scientific advisor, brought up new images. Our probe gathered this data before it was destroyed. We're calling them the Devourers. They're not like anything in our records. They consume entire planets, break down matter for resources. They're spreading fast. The images showed dark ships, organic-looking and twisted. They moved through space like swarms of insects. Where they went, nothing survived. How many systems have fallen? Lauren asked. At least 40 that we can confirm, Kate said. Probably more. The Council fleets keep losing. Their tactics don't work. Their tactics never evolved, Ben added. They've been using the same strategies for thousands of years. These Devourers adapt. They learn. Each battle, they get stronger. Lauren studied the images. She had been born after the exile, had grown up never seeing the stars beyond Sol. Now she was president, responsible for all of humanity. This was the biggest decision of her life. "What are our options?" she asked. "We could ignore them," said an advisor. "Let the galaxy burn, it's not our problem." "It will become our problem," Kate said. "The Devourers will reach the barrier eventually. Maybe they can't get through, maybe they can. Do we want to find out?" "We could help them," Ben said. "But on our terms." "What terms?" Lauren asked. Ben smiled. "Everything we want. Everything they denied us. Full membership in the council, military authority, access to their archives, reparations for the exile, an apology. Everything." "They'll never agree," someone said. "They will, when the alternative is extinction," Ben replied. Lauren thought about it. She thought about the stories her parents told her, about how humanity was treated like criminals and locked away. She thought about all the people who had died in the hard early years, struggling to survive in isolation. She thought about her responsibility to protect humanity's future. "Set up a meeting," she finally said. "At the barrier. We'll hear what they have to say." 5 days later, a larger alien ship arrived. This one carried High Arbiter Velketh, the leader of the Galactic Council. Captain Ross watched it approach, her crew tense and ready. "They're requesting communication," Chris said. "Open a channel," Megan ordered. The screen showed an alien that looked old and tired. Velketh's scales were dull, his eyes weary. He looked nothing like the proud species that had exiled humanity. "Please," he said immediately, "we need to speak with your leaders." "Stand by," Megan said, cutting the channel. She contacted Earth, and soon a new channel opened. President Mitchell's face appeared on the alien ship's screen, though she kept her location hidden. "High Arbiter," Lauren said coldly. "It's been a long time." "President Mitchell," Velketh said, "I come asking for help. The galaxy is under attack. We need your military support." "Why should we help you?" Lauren asked bluntly. "Because if we fall, you're next," Velketh said. "These creatures, the Devourers, they won't stop at the barrier. They'll find a way through." "Maybe," Lauren said. "Maybe not. Either way, that's our problem to deal with. You made it clear 100 years ago that we weren't part of the galactic community." "We were wrong," Velketh said, and the words seemed to hurt him. "We were afraid. We made a terrible mistake." "Yes, you did," Lauren agreed. "You isolated us, cut us off, treated us like criminals. Now you want us to save you?" "Please," Velketh said again. "People are dying. Entire civilizations are being destroyed. We'll do anything." "Anything?" Lauren leaned forward. "Then we need to discuss terms." "Terms?" Velketh looked shocked. "You want to negotiate while the galaxy burns?" "You negotiated our exile while we were helping you," Lauren shot back. "Now it's our turn to set conditions. You want our help? You'll pay for it." Velketh's face showed anger, then resignation. "What do you want?" "Everything," Lauren said. "Full restoration of our council membership with expanded voting rights, reparations for economic losses during the exile, access to all historical archives, military command authority over any joint operations, a formal apology, permanent human bases in key sectors, and most importantly, recognition that the exile was unjust and that humanity will never be treated as less than equal again." "Those terms are impossible," Velketh protested. "Then good luck with your war," Lauren said and moved to cut the channel. "Wait," Velketh cried out. "Please wait! Let me speak with the council." "You have 48 hours," Lauren said. "Every hour you delay, more of your people die. Choose wisely." The channel closed. Captain Ross watched the alien ship drift near the barrier, probably sending urgent messages home. She felt proud. Humanity wasn't begging to return. They were setting the price for their help. "Think they'll agree?" Chris asked. "They'll agree," Megan said. They have no choice. She was right. 40 hours later, Velketh returned with the Council's answer. They agreed to everything, every single demand. The proud species who had exiled humanity now bowed to human terms. "We accept," Velketh said, his voice hollow. "Please help us." Lauren smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. "Prepare for our arrival. And High Arbiter, remember this moment. Remember that you came to us. Remember that we saved you. Because if you ever threaten humanity again, next time, we won't answer your call." She cut the channel and turned to her advisors. "Activate the fleet. It's time to show the galaxy what humans have become." Ambassador Kyle Stevens stood at the barrier's edge, watching the alien delegation's faces as they saw the human fleet for the first time. Their shock was satisfying. "That's impossible," one of them whispered. "How many ships do they have?" Kyle looked out at the assembled fleet. 300 warships hung in space, each one larger and more advanced than anything the aliens had seen. And this was just the first wave. Humanity had built thousands more. "Enough," Kyle said simply. "More than enough." He was young for an ambassador, only 40. But he had trained his whole life for this. His father had been there at the Exile. Kyle grew up hearing stories about how the galaxy had treated humanity. Now he was here to make sure it never happened again. The meeting took place on a neutral station near the barrier. President Mitchell had wanted to hold it on Earth, but Kyle suggested this compromise. "Show strength, but don't humiliate them too much. Not yet, anyway." Velketh sat across from Kyle, surrounded by advisors from a dozen species. They all looked tired, scared. "Good. Thank you for coming," Velketh began. "Let's skip the pleasantries," Kyle interrupted. "You need our help. We've agreed to provide it under specific conditions. Now we need to work out the details." "Surely we can be flexible," one of the alien advisors said. "Given the urgent situation." "No," Kyle said flatly. "These terms are not negotiable. You agreed to them. Now we implement them, every single one." He brought up a holographic document. "First item, full restoration of council membership. We want 3 seats, not 1. Earth, Mars, and the outer colonies each get representation." "3 seats?" Velketh protested. "No species has more than 1 seat." "Then change your rules," Kyle said. "We're not one unified culture anymore. We're 3 distinct governments working together. Each one deserves representation." The aliens whispered among themselves. Finally, Velketh nodded. "Agreed. Second item, reparations. You owe us for 100 years of lost trade, lost opportunities, and economic damage. We calculate the amount at 2 trillion galactic credits." 2 trillion? Velketh's scales went pale. "That's more than most systems produce in a decade." "Then it will take you a decade to pay," Kyle said. "Or longer. We're willing to set up a payment plan, but the debt will be paid." More whispers, more protests. But eventually they agreed. Third item, military command. Any joint operation against the Devourers will be led by human officers. Our admiral will have final authority over all tactical decisions. "You can't expect us to hand over command of our own fleets," an alien general said angrily. Kyle leaned forward. "Let me show you something." He brought up battle recordings from the last 3 months. Alien fleets being destroyed, traditional tactics failing, thousands dying. "Your way isn't working," Kyle said coldly. "Our simulations show we can win, but only if you follow our lead. So you have a choice. Keep doing what you're doing and lose, or trust us, and maybe survive." The general looked at the recordings, then looked away. Agreed. Fourth item, access to archives. We want everything. Every historical record, every piece of technology data, every secret you've been keeping. Complete access. "Some of that information is classified," Velketh protested weakly. "So is our technology," Kyle said. "But we're sharing it to save your lives. You'll do the same. Agreed. Fifth item, permanent bases. We're establishing military and civilian stations in 20 key sectors. They'll be sovereign human territory. You won't interfere with them or try to regulate them. 20 bases? Velketh shook his head. That's a massive presence. Yes, it is, Kyle agreed. We're never being cut off again. These bases ensure we're woven into the fabric of galactic society. Try to exile us again, and you'll have to deal with human fleets in your own territories. The threat was clear. The aliens didn't like it, but they agreed. Sixth item, the apology. This one isn't negotiable at all. You will publicly admit that exiling humanity was wrong. You will apologize to every human who suffered because of your decision. You will teach your children about this mistake, so it never happens again. Velketh was quiet for a long time. You want us to humiliate ourselves? No, Kyle said, and his voice was harder now. I want you to tell the truth. My grandmother died in the food riots on Mars during the first years of the exile. She starved because you were afraid of us. She never got to see the stars beyond Sol. She died in a cage you built. He stood up, looking down at Velketh. Millions like her suffered, died, struggled, all because you were cowards. An apology is the least you owe us, the very least. Velketh met his eyes, and Kyle saw shame there. Finally, the old alien nodded. We will issue the apology. In all languages, on all major channels, today. Today, Velketh agreed. Kyle sat back down, feeling the weight of the moment. Good. Then we have a deal. Human fleets will begin deployment immediately. Admiral Ross will take command of all joint forces. We'll coordinate with your remaining fleets and begin pushing back the Devourers. How soon can you mobilize? An alien military officer asked. We're already mobilized, Kyle said. We've been ready for this. The question is whether you can keep up. After the aliens left, Kyle stayed on the station. He looked out at the barrier, still shimmering in space. Soon it would come down. Humanity would be free again. Dr. Kate Sullivan joined him at the window. She had come to oversee the technical aspects of the agreement. You were hard on them, Kate said. They deserved it, Kyle replied. They made us into this. They wanted us isolated. We used that isolation to become something they couldn't ignore. Do you think they've really learned? Kate asked. Kyle shrugged. Maybe, maybe not, but it doesn't matter. We're not the helpless species begging for acceptance anymore. We're the power they need. That changes everything. It does, Kate agreed. But Kyle, when this is over, when the Devourers are defeated, we need to be better than they were. We can't become the thing we hated. We won't, Kyle said, though he wasn't entirely sure. We'll be strong, but we'll be fair. We'll make the galaxy better. I hope so, Kate said softly. That evening, the apology was broadcast across the galaxy. Velketh appeared on every screen, every broadcast channel, every communication network. He stood before the council and spoke words that must have hurt to say. 100 years ago, the Galactic Council made a terrible mistake. We exiled humanity out of fear and prejudice. We treated them as criminals when they had done nothing wrong. We isolated them, hurt them, and abandoned them. For this, we are deeply sorry. To every human who suffered, to every human who died during the exile, to every human child who grew up seeing only a cage instead of stars, we apologize. We were wrong. Humanity, please forgive us. Kyle watched the broadcast with mixed feelings. It was what they wanted, what they demanded. But it didn't bring his grandmother back. It didn't erase a century of isolation. Still, it was something. A start. His communicator buzzed. It was President Mitchell. The fleet is ready, she said. Admiral Ross is waiting for the order to lower the barrier and begin operations. Kyle took a deep breath. This was it. the moment humanity returned to the galaxy. Not as exiles, not as outcasts, but as saviors, as leaders, as the strongest force in known space. "Give the order," he said. "Confirmed. Kyle, you did well. Your father would be proud." The channel closed. Kyle watched as, slowly, the barrier began to fade. The wall that had caged humanity for 100 years was coming down. And on the other side, the galaxy waited, broken, desperate, and needing what only humanity could provide. Kyle smiled. "Let's show them what we've become." Fleet Admiral Megan Ross stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Defiant, watching the battle unfold. Around her, hundreds of ships fought against the Devourers in a desperate struggle for survival. "Enemy contact, Sector 7, called out her tactical officer. "They're trying to flank us." "Lieutenant Grant, take your squadron and cut them off," Megan ordered. "Yes, ma'am," came the reply from Eric Grant, a young pilot whose grandmother had been one of the first scientists to study the barrier. He led his fighter group in a sweeping maneuver that would have been impossible with traditional controls, but Eric used the neural interface, his mind linked directly to his ship. He thought, and the ship responded instantly. The Devourers never saw it coming. 3 weeks had passed since the barrier came down. 3 weeks of constant fighting. The war was not going well for the aliens, even with human help. The Devourers were everywhere, and they learned from every battle, but so did humans. "Admiral, Dr. Sullivan is calling from the research vessel," her communications officer said. Megan switched to that channel. Kate Sullivan's face appeared, looking excited despite the danger around them. "I figured it out," Kate said. "The Devourers aren't fully organic. They're biomechanical. And they use quantum resonance to coordinate their attacks." "Can we disrupt it?" Megan asked. "Better than that. I can turn it against them. If we emit the right frequency, they'll get confused, attack each other. I need time to build the weapon, though." "How much time?" 3 days, maybe 4. "We don't have 4 days," Megan said, looking at her tactical display. "The Devourers are pushing toward the Krelvar system. If that falls, they'll have a clear path to dozens of core worlds." "Then I'll work faster," Kate said, and cut the channel. Megan turned to her command crew. "We need to buy the doctor time. Prepare the fleet for the Krelvar defense." The next day, the combined human-alien fleet gathered at Krelvar. It was a major system, home to billions of people. If it fell, the psychological impact would be devastating. "We're outnumbered 10-1, her executive officer said quietly. "Then we'll have to be 10 times smarter," Megan replied. She studied the enemy formations. The Devourers moved in swarms, overwhelming targets with sheer numbers. Traditional tactics focused on defensive lines and concentrated fire. But humans didn't think like that. "Activate the swarm protocol," Megan ordered. Her fleet broke apart into small groups, each one moving independently. To the aliens watching, it looked like chaos, but Megan knew better. Each group was controlled by neural-linked commanders who could coordinate instantly. They moved like a school of fish, each individual acting independently, but part of a greater whole. The Devourers attacked, and the human group scattered, reformed, and struck back from unexpected angles. Alien ships, following human orders for the first time, learned to adapt. It wasn't perfect, but it was working. "Enemy casualties rising," Tactical reported. "They're getting confused by our movements." "Good," Megan said. "Keep them off balance. Don't let them predict our next move." The battle raged for hours. Ships were lost on both sides, but slowly the humans pushed the Devourers back. It wasn't a victory, not yet, but it was progress. Lieutenant Grant's voice came through the command channel. "Admiral, I've got an idea. These things have a command ship in each fleet. If we take it out, the others lose coordination." "How do you know that?" Megan asked. "I've been watching their patterns. There's always one ship that the others orient around. Hit it, and they scatter." Megan pulled up the tactical view and saw what Eric meant. "Can you get to it?" "I can try," Eric said, "but I'll need a distraction." "You'll have it," Megan promised. "All ships, focus fire on the enemy's left flank. Fighter squadron, you have your opening. Go." Eric led his squadron on a suicide run through enemy lines. His neural interface let him dodge fire that would have killed any other pilot. Around him, his team did the same, their minds linked, acting as one unit. They reached the command ship and unleashed everything they had. The ship was massive, armored, and powerful, but it wasn't ready for fighters to phase shift directly inside its hull. The command ship exploded from within. Immediately, the Devourer fleet became disorganized. They stopped coordinating, stopped adapting. The human-alien fleet tore into them with renewed energy. "It worked," Megan whispered, amazed. By the end of the day, the Devourers retreated from Krelvar. It was humanity's first major victory. Celebrations erupted across the fleet. Alien commanders who had doubted human leadership now praised it. The tide was turning. 4 days later, Kate Sullivan completed her weapon. It was a device that emitted specific quantum frequencies, the ones the Devourers used to communicate. But Kate had modified it to scramble their signals, turn them against each other. "It's ready," she told Megan. "But we need to get close to their main concentration, really close." "How close?" Megan asked. "Inside their formation, at the center. Otherwise, the signal won't reach them all." It was a suicide mission. Everyone knew it. But Megan didn't hesitate. "I'll take the Defiant," she said. "We'll phase shift into the center of their fleet. Activate the weapon and phase shift out before they can respond." "If the phase shift fails, you'll be trapped," Kate warned. "Then it better not fail," Megan said with a smile. 2 days later, the Defiant approached the largest Devourer concentration in known space. Hundreds of enemy ships surrounded a central nexus, a massive structure that seemed to be their headquarters. "All power to phase shift drives," Megan ordered. "On my mark, we jump into the center of that formation." Her crew was scared. She could see it on their faces, but they trusted her. They had faith. "Mark," she said. The Defiant vanished from normal space and reappeared at the center of the enemy fleet. Alarms screamed. Devourer ships turned toward them, weapons charged. "Activate the quantum disruptor," Megan ordered. Kate's weapon came online, sending out waves of disrupted signals. The effect was immediate. Devourer ships stopped moving. Then they started firing at each other. The organized fleet became a chaotic battle as the creatures attacked anything near them. "Phase shift ready," called the helm officer. "We need to leave now." "Not yet," Megan said, watching the chaos spread. "Give it 5 more seconds." "Admiral, we're taking fire," someone shouted. 3 more seconds, Megan said calmly. The ship shook as weapons hit the shields. Lights flickered. Systems failed. "Now," Megan said. "Jump!" The Defiant vanished again, reappearing outside the enemy formation just as its shields collapsed. They had made it out by seconds. Behind them, the Devourer fleet tore itself apart. The Nexus exploded in a brilliant flash, and across the galaxy, other Devourer fleets lost their coordination. They became vulnerable, disorganized, easy targets. The war wasn't over, but it was winnable now. Over the next 3 months, human-alien forces systematically destroyed the remaining Devourer fleets. The creatures that had seemed unstoppable were defeated by human innovation and courage. When it finally ended, the galaxy was saved. Trillions of lives had been spared, and everyone knew who had saved them: humanity. 10 years later, Ambassador Kyle Stevens stood before the Galactic Council. But it wasn't the same council that had exiled his people. This one had been reformed, made more democratic, more fair. Humans sat on it as equal members. Some species even looked to humanity for leadership now. "We've come a long way," Kyle said in his speech. 10 years ago, you asked us to return and save you. We did. But we didn't do it just for revenge or profit. We did it because it was right. Because despite what you did to us, we're better than that. He paused, looking at the assembled representatives. Some were the same aliens who had voted for the exile. Others were younger, born into this new galaxy. You exiled us because you were afraid of what we might become. That fear taught us strength, taught us to rely on ourselves. But it also taught us something else. It taught us that fear leads to mistakes, that prejudice leads to suffering, that isolation hurts everyone. So, as we move forward together, let's remember the lessons of the past. Let's be better than we were. All of us. Human and alien alike. Let's build a galaxy where no one is exiled for being different. Where cooperation is stronger than fear, where we face the unknown together. The council erupted in applause. Even the Zelthai representatives, descendants of those who had pushed for the exile, were clapping. After the session, Kyle met with Admiral Ross. Megan was older now, ready to retire. They stood together, looking out at the stars. "Do you think it will last?" Megan asked. "This peace? This cooperation?" "I don't know," Kyle admitted. "But we gave it the best chance possible. We showed them that humanity is strong, but also fair. Powerful, but also just. They won't forget that." "No," Megan agreed. "They won't. We made sure of it." They stood in comfortable silence, watching ships from a dozen species travel past the window. Human ships and alien ships working together, protecting the galaxy together. "You know what's funny?" Kyle said. "They tried to cage us, tried to limit us, and instead they created something that saved them all." "That's humans for you," Megan said with a smile. "We don't just survive, we thrive, even when, especially when, someone tries to stop us." "Especially then," Kyle agreed. Somewhere out in the galaxy, human colonies were growing. Human technology was spreading. Human ideas were changing the way species thought about cooperation, innovation, and the future. The exile had ended, but humanity's influence was just beginning. And this time, no one would make them leave. Because now the galaxy needed humanity as much as humanity needed the stars. They had returned, not as exiles seeking forgiveness, but as heroes who had earned their place. And the galaxy would never forget it.